The 5G mobile sub-DAO just got its first major HIP that is officially open for voting. It is a proposal to model 5G mobile rewards in such a way that incentivizes useful and efficient coverage across the 5G sub-DAO. This mobile 5G proof of coverage system will be known as modeled coverage. This modeled coverage has different implications for both indoor and outdoor miners and will completely replace the existing 5G rewards algorithm. That is, of course, if HIP 74 passes. A combination of speed tests, a heartbeat multiplier, and coverage point estimations will be used to determine the total rewards for given outdoor radios. Indoor radios will use broader assumptions as less definitive data is available and will also be weighted slightly heavier than the outdoor radios. All this comes with new tools and a new coverage map to help miners and radio deployers make more informed decisions. There is about 5 more days remaining to vote. Let's take a look at the details. What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another video here on the Crypto Compound channel. Thank you guys all so much for being here. I hope you guys are having a great day. Please hit that like and subscribe on the way in. Today's video, we are going to be discussing the first major HIP here in the 5G sub-DAO. It is the proof of coverage equivalent for 5G mobile, and it is called modeled coverage. Voting has opened just yesterday. It is HIP 74, and it is here. There will be a link down in the description to take you right there if you guys do want to go and vote, which I would highly recommend. Currently, this is probably the closest I have ever seen any of these votes. There is 61% in favor of passing HIP 74, and there is 38% against HIP 74. Keep in mind, we do require 2/3 of the vote power. So right now, based on these preliminary results with about 5 days left, this HIP will not pass. Of course, there are only 887 votes right now, but this is the first time I think I've ever seen one of these without enough votes to pass after the first day. So today we are going to talk about all of the implications of this HIP. It will significantly impact anybody mining mobile tokens. It will impact outdoor miners differently than indoor miners. And there are new tools that we will look at today that will help people make better decisions on where to place these radios and how much they might expect to earn mining 5G mobile tokens. But now, guys, before we dive into all that is going on here with the new tools and the new algorithm, I do want to say that all of these changes that are taking place and that are being proposed were highlighted at Helium House a few months back, and here's a clip of Boris explaining just that.
In the next, I would say, 12 months or so, to dramatically evolve how the compensation model works for people deploying the cells, and do it together with also evolving the tools such as Explorer to enable people to make those decisions intelligently.
So everything we are going to look at and that is being proposed here has been carefully thought out by members of the community and Nova Labs. And this map that we are looking at here is just the first example of a preliminary tool that is going to be very useful for people trying to map their 5G coverage. But guys, as we love to do here on the channel, we are going to take a quick look here at the daily chart. HNT is flirting here with the $2 level, breaking out of this previous downward structure here just a few days ago with the broader crypto market rallying. As we can see, we are seeing strong momentum here, a higher level of momentum than the previous cycle and a higher price level, which is good and confluent with increased momentum. We are approaching this 50 EMA, which is the next hurdle, and I do want to highlight something that I pointed out in the previous video last week. This RSI breakout here is the first significant chart pattern or significant breakout we have seen here on the chart. Of course, this does not mean we have bottomed and we're going up from here. This is simply the first instance of HNT really regaining some sort of control and power, or at least the buyers here regaining some sort of power here. Of course, overtaking and staying above this 50 EMA is the big critical milestone that we are looking for. But ultimately, I would expect this to be the beginning of this real bottom accumulation here. Now, as this bottom continues to form, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being some sort of an inverse head and shoulders structure. Something of that wouldn't surprise me. I don't think we are out of the clear yet in terms of all-time lows for this pullback, but ultimately maybe some sort of reverse head and shoulders might be what we could come to expect here on the chart. This wouldn't surprise me. Of course, this is pure speculation, but my point is I don't think we are out of the clear just yet in terms of the all-time low price here in this pullback and more broadly in this bear market. So certainly be sure not to FOMO and go and panic buy in here thinking we're not going to see lower prices. Of course, it's possible we don't, but I think it's highly unlikely that we don't go any lower at this point right now. So guys, to get into the details here about HIP 74 and a lot of the implications for us miners, here is a quick timeline from a Helium blog post a few weeks back. As we can see, we are just about, we are a little behind on the schedule, but we are currently at the modeled coverage section of this timeline. Obviously here it says Q4 2022. Right now it is middle or early January 2023. So we're a little bit behind, but progress is being made. Passing of this HIP would certainly drive momentum forward. And of course, not passing this HIP would be a lot of wasted time from people who have been preparing this HIP and the development team in developing certain tools and platforms for the implementation of all this modeled coverage. Now, guys, it is important to note that there is absolutely no effect on IoT rewards from this HIP. This is strictly for the 5G Helium sub-DAO or the mobile DAO. There is no impact on traditional IoT hotspot miners or mining. Now, in summary here, they have 3 bullet points. They say they're proposing a framework to count coverage using resolution 12 hexes, which is a significantly smaller hex than the IoT hotspot coverage map is using. They are also proposing a framework for incorporating external data sources, aka oracles, and it proposes an obstruction data oracle as the first such external data source. They continue to say they expect this to be the first in a series of HIPs that will incorporate other data sources such as zoning and population density, feedback from carrier members of the mobile DAO, network users and mappers, etc. Our aim is to make future HIPs smaller and more easily consumable. Now again here they make it very clear HIP 74 does not impact the IoT hotspots or IoT rewards. And of course they highlight 3 possible outcomes for owners of 5G radios. They are obviously, you can imagine, an increase in earnings. Earnings will stay the same, or less or no earnings. The most important thing here is less or no earnings, because in this Genesis phase, anyone who just plugged in their radio was receiving substantial rewards. Now, moving forward, if your miner or your radio does not have a heartbeat, you will not earn any rewards. This is probably the most important thing here. You do need to make sure that your miner is set up properly and it is connected properly in order to be earning the amount of rewards that your hotspot should be earning. Now, they do make it clear that 5G hotspot owners can evaluate their performance with the modeled coverage app. That is the new app or the new coverage map that we see here. As we can see, these are all radios right now that are active on the 5G network, and they try and do a good job of modeling the actual signal strength here of these radios. Of course, a lot of these appear to be outdoor radios as they are spanning multiple blocks in some cases. Of course, this one over here in Newark, New Jersey is must be rather high, and it seems to be incredibly strong, which is really good for whoever owns that. And there are a bunch others here in New Jersey as well. But this is the map that will help people determine the location and signal strength to help model their reward coverage and what they can expect when mining in their areas. Now, the big thing here is the new algorithms, of course, for the indoor and outdoor radios. They are different from each other, and they're also very different from the one that exists today in the Genesis phase. Down below here, we can see an actual representation on a map of the difference in size from an IoT hex to this new hex resolution that the 5G mobile coverage map is using. As you can see, this blue dot here is the one for the 5G. This larger green is the IoT. Significantly smaller hex resolution here being used by the 5G sub-DAO in order to more accurately determine the amount of rewards hotspots should be earning and to determine if coverage is actually in a particular area or not. We have to remember these indoor miners might only take up space that is a quarter of a block at max, so it has to be very specific. Now, if we see here for rewards tier, they say that the mobile rewards oracle will calculate a coverage model for each radio. This radio coverage model will consider the physical location, antenna direction, radio max transit power, and obstacle data oracle inputs to calculate the number of Res 12 hex receiving radio coverage for each radio. As we can see down here for outdoor radios, this is the breakdown here or an example of an outdoor radio tier strength and the estimated coverage points that they could earn in each tier. As we can see, tier 1 being the highest, tier 4 or no signal strength receiving 0 estimated coverage point rewards. Now, for indoor radios, it is slightly different since it is very difficult to actually determine how well the coverage is or the signal strength is in a particular indoor area. They are using an algorithm that is sort of already predetermined and is very generous and favorable for indoor hotspots. As we can see, the way it will work is that each indoor hotspot will earn an estimated coverage points of 400 for the hex that the actual miner or radio is inside of, and will earn 100 coverage points for every adjacent hex around the hex that the radio is actually inside of. Now, they have some data down here that shows how they came up with these coverage points and these assumptions. I'll leave it to you to interpret this how you would like, but they did have 904 radios in LA as the market area. Down here is a more detailed description of the actual rewards algorithm, and here is the actual formula per radio. As we can see, total rewards is equal to the heartbeat multiplier times speed test multiplier times estimated coverage points times epic rewards per coverage point. This equation is rather simple, which is very good, but as you can see, if any of these are 0, then your total rewards are 0. So that means if your heartbeat or speed test is 0, your hotspot won't actually earn anything. That is very important to keep in mind here with regards to this 5G modeled coverage. Now, down here, they do have a data visualization section here, which is an actual hotspot here. This is the picture of the hotspot outside on a roof, and down below is the actual coverage that they saw when mapping the signal from that particular hotspot. And that is what they are trying to represent using this map here. As we can see, they're slightly different colors and it looks a little bit cooler because it's a black map, but it is effectively this same modeled coverage here. Now guys, this is a critical HIP for the mobile 5G sub-DAO and is very important. But guys, ultimately, Boris, back all the way a few months ago back at Helium House, did really explain the gist of this in very simple terms. And here it is.
The good installations are the ones that earn, and the ones that have 20 cells pointing to concrete wall don't.
So as you can see, the entire direction and the purpose for proposing these types of HIPs is to really have useful coverage, because at the end of the day, no matter if there are 1 million or 10 million hotspots, the important thing is that the coverage is actually useful and there is utility that is driven from these hotspots and the coverage they are providing. And that is exactly what these new algorithms are trying to do. They are trying to gauge the usefulness and the effectiveness of the signals from each of these individual radios. Now guys, I have seen some pushback at this proposal because it does so heavily favor indoor hotspots versus outdoor hotspots. Now, I've heard that reasoning for that, of course, is because there is so much more data that is available and that is useful when people aren't moving fast. So when people are actually inside of a bar or a coffee shop or a stadium rather than driving down the road. Let me know what you guys think about that. Obviously, I think that is why they are favoring the indoor hotspot estimated coverage points so heavily here. Let me know what you guys think, if you agree, disagree, if you're going to be voting yes or no. Regardless, please get out there and vote. It is very important for there to be large participation in these votes here. Of course, at the end of the day, that is the entire point of having this voting system, so the community is really building and driving these decisions. Let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys found this helpful. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you for being here and watching until the end. Please hit that like and subscribe if you have not already. But that is all I have for you guys today, and I will see you next time.